Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Steelers Sanctuary podcast. I'm your host, Dave Rivero from SteelersSanctuary.com. And today we've got Tony Serino pitching in for us again. Hey, Tony, what's going on?
Hey, happy to be here.
Excellent. I thought we'd start the pod with Tomlin's press conference today. Some of the things that this man says, Tony, it just goes straight up my rear end. I'm telling you.
All right, what did he say this time? What did he say this time that got you? Because he said one thing that really got me, but I want to see if we're on the same page.
Okay, let's see. The first thing he says right out of the gate, he starts talking about the defense and not, creating the turnovers and not getting the interceptions. And that's why they lost the game.
Yep.
So my take on that is, so your offensive game plan is to have the defense turn the ball over and give you short fields and field position. That's your offensive game plan going into these games.
Okay.
You and I are to me. I don't know. Is it?
No, you're exactly. No, you are. You and I are exactly that. That has drove me up a wall since he said it in the post game presser.
Yeah.
When he started doing that, like, well, the difference in this game is that they got interceptions and we didn't. It's like, timeout. Like, yes, I look. And it's one of these things that Tomlin says where he's not wrong. Like, I don't think he's entirely wrong in saying that. Sure, if the defense had gotten one or two or three of those interceptions, maybe the Steelers would have won this game. Fine. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing that we were saying after that Cincinnati game in week 1, right? Which is, okay, you got 5 turnovers in week 1 and you could only score 23 points in overtime on the very last play of overtime. Like, that's a big warning sign. Like, something is going really horrifically wrong offensively. And so at the end of the day, like, this is my big problem with Tomlin is this results-oriented thing where he's like, yeah, we lost this game because of turnover. Okay, even if you had gotten the turnover, Tomlin, and you won this game, doesn't make your team any better. You still have a ton of problems offensively. You still can only score 10 points a game. When you get to 20, it is a miracle. And it's usually because the defense helped you get there.
Yeah, that's absolutely it. It's like his refusal to admit it, or at least acknowledge it, that this, this offense, you come out on both of your press conferences, and the first thing you say both times, it's the defense's fault. I can only imagine what the defense's thing is like. Screw you. We just held this team with 16 points, and we still lost.
Right.
And then a reporter asked him the question, and he's like, "Do you think you're close?" And he's like, "I think the dam is about to be broken on this offense." I'm like, "What are we watching here? Is he just saying it to where does this come from, Tony? I don't understand.
I don't know either. Yeah, the whole he went on this whole thing about how, well, they're going to, with continuity, we'll get better. And like, these things are going to get better over time and yada, yada. And it's like, I don't disagree with you, Mike, right? I mean, I don't disagree that, yeah, as Kenny builds more of a rapport with some of the receivers and all that, it will get incrementally better. Sure. But the Steelers have one of the worst offenses in the National Football League right now. So what are we talking about incrementally better? We're talking about going from where are they right now? 28th to what? 24th? Because they got it incrementally better. It's a fundamental issue with the offense. And it doesn't feel like Tomlin sees it that way.
And they're 31st in points per game.
Yikes.
I mean, that tells you all. We can look at all the other stats. You're not scoring points. You're not getting in the end zone. I don't know. It's so frustrating because he will not acknowledge it. I don't know if you saw that still shot that was running around Twitter where he had the whole offense around him, and he was. Is he taking over play calling at some point? Is this what we're heading to?
Well, do you think it's play calling or because I've seen a lot of people say like, well, Canada's got to go right now. And the reason why you would get rid of Canada right now would be because you think it's more about play calling than it is play design. Because I don't think you can change offensive coordinators and change play design.
No, you can't. Not the slate. Not the slate. No.
Yeah.
I think my only argument for getting rid of Canada now is maybe it gives them a spark. Maybe it gives them a different set of eyes.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody can see something or has a different play calling style that might spark them in some way.
Mm-hmm.
This is not working. This is just not working. I mean,
no, it's so ultra conservative. And maybe the Sullivan thing, the argument for Sullivan would be that potentially, he could run a more diverse play. Like maybe the Canada playbook seems very limited right now. And by that, I mean, just conceptually what they're running on a play-to-play basis seems to be, Orlovsky had the tweet on what was it, Sunday night or Monday morning. Like this team can't run more than like 6 plays, right? It's like, all right, that's a little excessive, but he's on the right track there, right? Canada's offense is very, very simple. They run the same things over and over. If it's third and short, guess what? They're going to run mesh. That's just what's going to happen. Some variation of mesh is coming. And so potentially Sullivan could be more diverse, right? Maybe potentially there is a more diverse version of this Steeler playbook that he could get to, that Canada just refuses to get to. I could see that being a reason to get to Sullivan. And potentially I could see Sullivan wanting to be more aggressive, especially on early downs, right? This team can be aggressive. It's just when they choose to, right? It seems like when it's third and short, that's when it's time to get aggressive. Second down, no aggressiveness on second down.
Right? It's so odd.
First down, they're going to run the ball. You can just, they're going to run the ball on first downs. You just know that. So it's like second and 7. Are you going deep here, or are you going to throw some sort of 4-yard check down to get yourself into third and short?
You see it now too. The defenses are just sitting on everything. They're just sitting. It's like they know the play calls. They're sitting on all the routes. They're sitting on everything that they're committing to run on first down. If you ever did a play action pass over the middle, against any team.
Wow, there's your problem right there, Dave. There's your problem right there. Over the middle?
I mean,
over the middle?
If they ever dared to try it,
no, that part of the field is off limits to the Steeler offense until late in the fourth quarter when
when
it's do or die. You absolutely have to score here, and that's when they decide, all right, fine, you can throw in the middle of the field now.
So do you fall on the keep Canada for the rest of the season? Keep some continuity. I saw your old partner Chris Cotter say it's not good to have so many offensive coordinators in Kenny Pickett's young career, because if they could conceivably, if they fired Canada, go from Canada to Sullivan to somebody else, and he'd have 3 offensive coordinators in 2 seasons.
I don't think. I mean, like firing Canada now, and going to Sullivan now. I don't know that. To me, that doesn't matter. I just don't think it. I don't think it fixes anything. I don't think it messes with Kenny. What's going to suck for Kenny is, you're gonna fire Canada in the offseason, and you're probably going to bring someone in, hopefully, right? I mean, if you and I have our way, it'll be someone from the outside, right? Someone from outside the organization with new ideas, which will essentially mean 2 offenses for Kenny to learn in 2 years. That sucks. I mean, that is a bad way to develop a young player, no doubt about it. Now, as far as he's going to have 3 in 2 years because you fired Canada and went to Sullivan, but you're not going to change anything. Like Sullivan's not coming in with a new playbook. So it's not like he had to learn 2 offenses in 1 year, right? That's not. Yeah, that can't.
True.
Happen. Yeah.
All right. To compound the offensive frustrations, and I don't know where you land on this, the Calvin Austin stuff is beyond bizarre now. He again doesn't tell us why he's not being activated. He's not ready, or is he injured? Is this ultra conservativeness by the Steelers? Is he hurt? No one.
No. It sounds well. If you hear Austin talk, it sounds like Austin thinks he's ready to go right now. Sometimes players do the whole like I'm ready to go, even if the trainers and the doctors are saying like no, you're not. So potentially that could be the case. But I think it's more likely that Tomlin just feels like, look, this is a guy who hasn't even practiced since early August. Yeah. So never played in a game yet. There's all kinds of questions about his game entirely. Like, is he too small or whatnot, that I'm sure that this team would have wanted to find out in game situations in preseason. So, if I'm Tomlin today, I'm saying, who am I cutting? Am I cutting Steven Sims? Am I cutting Gunner to put this kid, Calvin Austin, on the roster right now when, what does he really bring me? I think that's probably what I don't agree with what he's saying, but I think that would be his argument of like, what's the point of me bringing in this rookie who's got all these obvious flaws, right? Yes, he's really fast, but at the end of the day, he's also tiny. And who am I cutting to bring him in when at the end of the day, like just stash him on IR and we'll try this again next year?
Yeah. I mean, to redshirt a 4th round pick, this is the thing. Didn't they have this conversation with themselves before they wasted a draft pick on him? If you think he's too small or you think he's hard to get in the,
right.
I don't know how to use him. Baloney that Canada was trying to give us a couple of weeks ago. Don't you have this conversation before the draft? And I'm not buying any of that.
But I'm okay with taking a flyer on a guy in the 4th round who's like obvious that he's so fast and elusive that he could be a game wrecker, but he also has these like major flaws. Like I'm okay with taking a 4th round flyer on that guy. But I mean, I'm with you. I would love to see him on this roster right now because at the end of the day, and this is where I think you and I are already to the point where we understand that this team's not going anywhere. So like, let's just figure out what you got. But the problem for Tomlin and the Steelers, they don't operate that way. No. So while you and I might sit here today and say, put Austin in because who cares? Like if Austin ends up being a disaster and you cut Steven Sims for no reason, like fine. But at least we figured out what Calvin Austin is. Whereas, Tomlin and the Steelers are still going to think like we can win this division still. We can still make the playoffs. And so there's no reason for us to risk anything like putting a rookie in, when we still feel like we can win.
I mean, if he looks himself in the mirror and asks himself, what are we getting out of Gunner right now? He's not even returning kicks. He returns them and he gets 5 yards. Yeah. Fair catches a lot of stuff. You're not getting anything out of him. There's no reason.
And Austin can return kicks. I mean, Austin was a returner. So
Yep.
He does have that. He does have that ability. Yeah.
And if you're worried about practice time, just leave him inactive a couple weeks. Let him practice for a few weeks. Because if you don't activate him by Wednesday, he's done, right? He's done for the season.
Yeah, he's done for the year. I don't think he's going to activate it. I think this is a red shirt situation for Austin.
That's super frustrating.
Yeah, it is.
No TJ Watt, it sounds like this Sunday either, according to Tomlin. It doesn't. Yeah. That's not a big surprise to me. It's a big blow if they had any prayer at all of beating the Eagles. It would have had to have been TJ, comes out of that tunnel and saves them because otherwise
they put up a really good fight against Miami, against a team that I thought schematically would haunt the Steelers because of how well McDaniel designs the high-low stuff that he does. But I'll give Tomlin, Austin, Flores, whoever was designing stuff. Like they did a really good job of adjusting and understanding how the Dolphins were attacking them and how to fight back. I agree with you that Watt would have been big in this game against Philly, but I don't know. I have this weird thought because this is, we were talking about this before the show. Last time you and I were here, we talked about, hey, this team has no chance against Tampa. And then they went out and won that game. Yeah. I have this weird feeling that this is going to be another Tomlin game coming up. Undefeated Eagles. They're looking right past the Steelers. I mean, there's no reason for them to worry about Kenny Pickett and the Steelers. I could see the Steelers pulling off another dumb upset this week.
You said it at the last time we got together that this could be one of those Tomlin games, and I dismissed that completely. I was like, no way they're beating Tampa. No way Tomlin's figuring this out, and he did.
Yeah.
And it seems like they figured something out on defense. Like we talked about this on our Monday podcast. I don't know. They seem to have figured something out, and I can't quite put my finger on it.
You want to know what it is?
Tell me.
It's my dog. I gave up on him too early. James Pierre.
No.
When James Pierre is on the field, this defense is unstoppable.
Indirectly, is it that the way? Do they play more? Do they simplify things? Do they play more conservative? And because those players are in there and that's what they figured out, it's like, we're not going to blitz as much. We're not going to expose ourselves. Let the talent win out, play out.
I do think that they've Kazora did a good job pointing this out earlier today. I think they've done a better job with Ogunjobi up front of understanding what kind of player he is, right? He's like a one gapper. You don't want him in a two gap situation because he is a see ball, get ball defender. I think they are doing I think what they've done a better job of is kind of learning who each guy is. Like who is Miles Jack? Who is Devin Bush? How do we best utilize each of these guys in this defense? And I think that kind of evolution from week one to now has been a lot better. And I also think one of the guys who has really come up huge these last 2 weeks is Terrell Edmonds, who's played lights out football. And who would have thought we'd be talking about Terrell Edmonds as one of the best players in the secondary this year? But I think he's been number 2 right behind Minkah.
Yep. If you can only catch the ball, Tony. If you can only,
you can't have everything.
The splash plays still elude this guy, and he's playing fantastic. I'll be the first to admit it. He really has been, but the splash plays still just don't come. I don't know what it is about him. Devin Bush was brought up in this press conference too. He's been playing well the last couple of games. Not super fantastic, but he's been pretty damn good. And Tomlin said he thinks he's back to his rookie year for him. I don't know if I'd go that far yet, but he's definitely taken a step in the right direction. Finally.
And I think it's all a perception thing with Devin, right? It's the idea that this team has Miles Jack now, so they don't, if this were Devin Bush and Robert Spillane as your starters, and Spillane was struggling, right? And Devin's doing the same thing he's doing now. Our perception would be, we need a playmaker out of Devin, right? This guy's got to be out there making splash plays. But because they don't need that anymore, because they have a really solid player in Jack, we can when Bush is just right place, right time, making routine plays, that's fine. That's what you need him to be, right? Cog in the wheel. It's the same thing that happened to Edmonds after they got Minkah, right? Like we stopped thinking about Edmonds like this guy's trash. He sucked. It's like, all right, he's just a guy, right? He's gonna make bad plays, he's gonna make good plays, like just a cog in the wheel. I think it's a perception thing with Devin, where right place, right time, make some plays. Not a splash player guy, but that's not who they really want. That's not who they need him to be anymore. And he's, he has kind of turned into exactly what they need him to be, which is just another guy.
Yep. But the problem with that is these are first round picks.
Well,
and,
yeah.
And in Bush's case, a high first round pick to be just a guy, but you cannot, I mean, they're playing well, so you don't want to take too many shots at them right now.
Right.
One last thing from the press conference. Someone asked Tomlin about Pickens and how he could, his college troubles and this and that. And Tomlin was offended. He even said he was offended.
Yeah.
He did not like that question whatsoever. Did you catch that? He was.
I did. Yeah. It was a weird, like out of nowhere question. It was
right
like,
out of the blue, right?
Yeah. It's like, hey, remember when Pickens got in all those fights in college? Is that a problem? It's like, what?
Tomlin's like, I don't understand where this is coming from.
Do you know it's late October in 2022 and we're talking about stuff that happened like his freshman year of college? What are we talking about?
Some of these Pittsburgh media guys, when they ask these questions out of nowhere, you're like, "Hello, were you sleeping through this press conference?"
Right. It's like that's a valid question to ask back in April when they
in April after they drafted him.
Right. It's like, what are we doing? Like this kid's been through camp. Like we've talked to him a million times. Like everybody knows who he is now. Yeah, it's just a silly question.
All right, so let me ask you this question: where do you stand on Kenny Pickett after 3 games started? 3.5 games, basically, 2 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
Yep.
Where do you stand?
I don't know where to stand because I posted this on Twitter the other day, right? The player A, player B, player C thing. And it was like 3 quarterbacks who have almost identical numbers, right? I mean, like their yards per attempt, their completion percentage, their EPA per play, identical numbers. And it was the first 3 games of Kenny Pickett, the first 4 games of Mitch Trubisky, and the first 4 games of Ben Roethlisberger and Matt Canada's offense. I mean, the numbers that these 3 guys have put up they are unbelievably similar. And the problem I have with grading Kenny Pickett right now is like, what are the Steelers at? I have the same problems with Kenny Pickett that I had of Mitch Trubisky. I don't think he's aggressive enough. I mean, I think he's far too willing to just, let's just check it down and live to fight another day. Right. But here's the thing. I had those same concerns last year about Ben, right? Anything that's aggressive is down the sideline. The middle of the field is off limits. And we're very happy we're going to check it down. We're going to throw a short of the 6 on 3rd down. We're going to live to fight another day. So I can't really get a read on Kenny. The one thing I'll say about Kenny is we'll get him for the interceptions. That's the one part about Kenny that I actually like is that this kid has a desire, a will to win. That 3rd and 16, that interception, that was a really dumb throw on his part. Really dumb. But I felt it. I felt the frustration that he had on that play. It's like, man, we converted on 3rd and 1, and then they called the penalty. And then we almost converted. I mean, they were right there on 3rd and 6. It was either going to be a first down or 4th and inches. Mm-hmm. And then okay, we get holding. It's 4th and 16. He's thinking, Kenny's out there thinking, I'm not punting here. Like, we're not kicking a field goal. Like, I'm getting this first down. I'm throwing this ball. I'm firing it in there on this curl route. And it's a stupid throw, and he shouldn't have done it. But I understood why he did it. Same thing on the Deontay interception. Like, it's a dumb throw. He shouldn't have done it. He should have just taken the yards to run. But I love the idea that he thought, I'm throwing the game winner right now. Like Deontay's coming back to this ball and I'm throwing the game winner. And that part of it, I like. It's what I said about Mitch early on. I would rather Mitch throws 30 interceptions this year as a starter than throw the 6 he was on pace for, but everything's a freaking check down. Yeah. I like that about Kenny Pickett, that at least, especially in those gotta have it situations, that he's trying to take chances, even if at this point probably was a better option, Kenny.
I tweeted something very much along the lines of what you just said after the game. It's like, it's impossible to evaluate the quarterback play of the Pittsburgh Steelers because the offense is so bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's.
And it sounds like a cop out, but it's not. I'm right there.
It's at the end of the season, we're not going to know who Kenny Pickett is. We're not going to know because the restraints on these quarterbacks, whether it's through Tomlin or Canada or both, it's like you see the imprint. Don't take chances. Throw short. Keep the chains moving. What is it that Tomlin uses? Stay ahead of the schedule.
Yeah.
Keep going. That's what he wants. He wants. So it's like, and we've already complained about Matt Canada and his playbook and his play call. So how do you evaluate a quarterback under these circumstances? You can't. Right. You can't.
There was a play in I think it was in the 3rd quarter when it just summarized the Canada offense so well. And it was when they ran the little flip play. They ran the little flip play on 2nd and 7 or something, and it's like, that right there is the Matt Canada offense, which is it's 2nd and 8. and all they want to do is get, what's the max yards you can get out of the flip play, right? I mean, like you're going to get like 5 yards out of this,
Maybe,
but that's what they, but that's okay, right? Because this offense is all about, like you said, stay on schedule. They're very happy to take 1st and 10 and turn it into 2nd and 7 and take 2nd and 7 and turn it into 3rd and 3 and hope that like, well, we just got to convert. We got to get into those, Tomlin always talks about, right? We got to win those money downs. I got a concept for you, Mike. How about you don't get into money downs? How about you get a first down on 1st or 2nd down? Then you don't have a money down to get into, or you don't have to win money downs because you never are in that situation, right? That to me is the frustrating part of Canada's offense is we're just so happy to take the check down, to just, we're just going to take the 3 yards here and there and put ourselves consistently in these like 3rd and manageable. And then just, 1, 2, 3 and out, just all year, 3 and out, no matter change the quarterback, same result.
Yep. You can't ask them to keep going, 1st down, 2nd down, convert on 3rd down, 1st down, 2nd down, convert on 3rd down. Eventually it's going to bite you in the ass.
Right.
And the Miami defense, especially their secondary, was beat up. They had Xavier Howard, who was playing semi-hurt. He's been playing hurt all year. And they're on the other side, they're on their 4th or 5th guy. They've lost a couple of guys. And then they lost a safety in the 2nd quarter. And your strategy against that beat up secondary is to continue to throw these short check down. You let them off the hook. You did them a favor.
I was shocked that I really thought Kenny was going to have a better game this one because I did, like you said, I felt like it was a very advantageous matchup given that this is an aggressive defense, but they don't have a great secondary. They're beat up. They're probably going to play a lot of press. And this is going to be a game where Kenny's going to be able to diagnose where's the rush coming from. I'm going to have my one-on-one, and we're going to have Deontay winning in those matchups, Pickens winning in those matchups. But it played out almost the opposite of that, right? Didn't it feel like so often that like Kenny's going back and he's like, nah, I'm not taking a chance. Let me just check this thing down. Right. And that was like that was basically just 60 minutes of that until we got into the end of the game where, and the end of the game just drives me nuts because there's that one throw to Freiermuth that every Steeler fan loves to post on Twitter. Look at this throw to Freiermuth over the middle of the field. And my frustration with that play is, guys, why is there one play a game that we get to post as Steeler fans and say, look at this great throw from Kenny, this one play. This one play that we get to go. It's like in preseason when the one play to Freiermuth or on the scene, right? It's this one play. Otherwise, everything else that we're asking this kid to do is basically middle school stuff. That's it's so frustrating.
We're like broken records. It's the same thing every week, and nothing changes. They don't. It's like that insanity definition. You try the same thing over and over again.
Exactly. We are all going to go insane as Steeler fans. As Steeler fans, anyone who tries to analyze this team, we are slowly going insane. Because where first we called, Randy Fichtner's got to go. We got to get rid of Randy Fichtner. Okay, they got rid of Randy Fichtner. They got Matt Canada. No, they got to get rid of Matt Canada. Ben's old and washed. They got to get rid of this guy. So they bring in Mitch. Oh, no, Mitch sucks. They got to get rid of Mitch. Kenny comes in. It's like, okay, how many times we're going to do the same thing over and over again with the exact same results?
We know there's only one constant in that. It's Matt Canada for the last 24 games now. He's been in charge.
Yeah.
I mean, Randy Fichtner had his flaws, but it wasn't this bad. Things weren't this bad. This is a whole nother level. They're setting like records of futility at this point. I don't even know what this offense is going to look like by the end of the season. I mean, how many times can I have a podcast and say the same thing?
Yeah.
The offense sucked for 3 quarters and a half quarters. Then they went into like no huddle to try to catch up. They started looking better. So we had a little hope, and then we go back to the same thing again.
What'd you think about, okay, I will give Canada and Tomlin, whoever came up with this idea. I don't know who it was, right? But whoever came up with the idea in this game of let's go no huddle on 3rd down. I liked that idea. I know it didn't work. I know that obviously, I don't know the 3rd down conversion offhand, but I'm sure it wasn't good in this one. Let me look it up. 4 of 14. Yeah, not good. But I like the idea, right? I like the idea of like, let's try to keep the defense off balance. We're going to get in these 3rd and manageable situations, and then we're going to run hurry up and try to get up to the line and catch them off guard. I know it didn't work, but I like the idea of it. And I think they should go back to that more because anything this offense can do to keep a defense off balance, do that.
And why do we go long stretches with no targets to George Pickens? He makes some plays in the 1st quarter, and then you don't hear his name again until the 4th quarter. It's like the guy catches a touchdown pass, 1st quarter, everything's rolling, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
And you don't hear his name again until the 4th quarter. It's like,
I can't explain it. It's, I know from a route tree perspective, he had a limited route tree at the beginning of the year. I'd have to rewatch and look at his route tree this week. Because I know a lot at the beginning of the year, it was a lot of just go balls, just go. You know, he's just running. He was the guy who was basically James Washington, who was like, every play, we just want you to run as fast as you can, straight. That's your whole route tree.
Well, it's James Washington with speed and size. So
Yeah,
I'm all for it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
More of that.
So, I mean, if you're going to work Pickens in as your kind of number one, right? So one thing, it's why they go to Deontay so much, because he has such a diverse tree.
Yeah.
You know, he can run everything. With Pickens, you got to see if they can open that up for him. But I'm with you. I mean, he needs to be, it's so obvious, right? I mean, he needs to be a massive part of the, he needs to be a double digit target guy every single game. You got to feed this kid the ball and let him make things happen.
Even if you have to force it to him at times, because you see the acrobatic catches he makes. He's
right.
the only big play guy in the offense right now, really. I mean, except one every 4 games from Chase Claypool. But short of that, it's like, what'd you think of Najee this week, too, while we're on the subject? Same old stuff, right? Not bad, not terrible.
It's just, you know, someone said on AFC North Talk yesterday when we were recording, they're like, Najee Harris is Trent Richardson. And I just got sad. It just made me sad.
I don't think it's to that level. Well, at least I hope it's not to that level, but it's not far off. You look at
it's not
average yards per carry, it's got to be close, right? I don't know off the top of my head what Trent Richardson's average yards per carry is, but Najee's
but it's not that bad. But here's the thing, like, you know, it's bad when you're starting to compare when the hope of Steeler fans right now is that, well, he could still be Derrick Henry, right? When you got to go to the like, well, there was this one outlier running back who took 3 years to get going. Like, it's the whole, you know, it's when Browns fans used to say, you know, hey, yeah, I know Baker Mayfield throws a lot of interceptions, but remember, Peyton Manning threw a lot of interceptions as a rookie. It's like, okay, but once you got to go to the outlier guy, once you got to go to like, well, there was this one time, this one really good guy did this really bad thing.
Yeah.
That's when you know, like, okay, things are not going well. It usually doesn't take 3 years for a running back to get going.
No.
I understand that it's not a great situation for him because, yes, this offense is unbelievably stagnant and predictable, and the offensive line is not ideal. But I think you just know when you're watching it, right? Like, he has no burst.
Yeah.
Najee still has no burst.
There's nothing there.
No plate, doesn't matter. It's no burst.
Yeah, and I brought this up in our last podcast. I don't know if it's shell shocked from last year or like he's so inconsistent in the way he runs. It's like he's not following his blocks sometimes. He's not reading the, you know, it's just he's so used to being hit within a second of getting the ball. I think he's just, you know, and forward.
He was doing that thing a lot where it was like he wants to kick everything outside too. You know, everything. It was just like I don't trust anything I see. Yeah. Right.
And you can't blame him really after last season.
No, yeah, of course.
Didn't he lead the league in touches or second in the league in touches last year? And
yeah,
he took
second behind Taylor.
Yep, and he took a hell of a beating last year. So I can't. On one hand, I can't blame him, but you're right. The burst is not there. The offensive line is poor. I don't know where you go with this.
The offense is predictable, right? So like, it's one of those things we talk about, right? You can just tell when this team's going to run the ball. Does it say first down? Then yes, they're running the ball. But or like, is there motion? And that kind of thing obviously does just great on a player. But I still think, it's one of those things where like in a perfect world, if Deontay had a great offense, like if you put Najee behind the Browns offensive line, right, where Nick Chubb is like lighting teams up, would he be putting up Nick Chubb numbers? And if you put Nick Chubb behind the Steelers offensive line, would he be struggling to get to 3.5 yards a carry?
I don't think Najee would put up Nick Chubb numbers even with the Cleveland offensive line. He'd be better, obviously, but I don't think and I think conversely, I think Nick Chubb would find daylight and make chicken soup out of chicken shit. What's the saying that he would find ways to make positive yardage. I think he's just a much better back.
Yeah.
I just think he is.
I'm with you.
Another one of the guys that kind of gets under my skin sometimes, Alex Highsmith. Again, the Ofer.
Yeah.
The disappear. They come in bunches for him, right?
I've been criticized a lot because I do this thing where, I don't really sack numbers are fine to me, but I've really kind of come around to the idea of pressures as a stat.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's one of those things where when you think about an edge rusher, so TJ Watt had 22.5 sacks last year, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if you think about how many plays he played in a year, are we going to say that he had a great year because on 22 or 23 of those plays, he made a good play, right? I just think it's so it's such a small thing. Oh, he had a 22 sacks. Like, but he had far more great plays than just 22, right? So that's
No,
why
it's
I
a
think
good
like the
point.
pressure numbers is a better indication of how often are you influencing a passing play. The problem for Highsmith is, you know, even his pressure number, like his sack numbers, I know are good, but his pressure numbers are not. He's not leading the league in pressures. He leads the league in sacks, but his pressure numbers, I think, from a pressure to sack ratio, are down. And I think that goes to what you're talking about, which is, yes, he has 6 sacks, but like, do I really feel like his presence is felt like you would feel like a guy who's leading the league in sacks should feel like, right? I mean, it's one of those things where, and that's where I think you're coming from is he's just not around the ball as much as you would think a player of who gets the accolades he's getting right now among Steeler fans of saying, this is a guy who leads the league in sacks. Like, okay, but not really.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, you could have 13, 14 sacks in a season and just make one play a game for 14 out of the 17 games. And yeah, you've got a lot of sacks, but you're not influencing the game enough from a defensive perspective. He's subpar against the run. He's not really a good run defender. And they go this long stretches of game where you don't even hear his name. You don't even realize he's on the field.
Yeah.
So
I think he is a like at this point, I think he's kind of settling in as he's not a premier edge rusher. He's a solid number 2. And the problem is he is Robin missing his Batman, right?
Yeah.
No one reads the Robin comic book. We want to read Batman and Robin.
Yeah. Exactly. That's a good comp. So is he up this year or is it next year? Next year. So he's going to be looking for
this is year 3 for Highsmith.
He's going to be looking for a sizable raise because he's going to have double-digit sacks this year.
That's okay because remember the Steelers are drafting
Will Anderson.
Will
Anderson to the rescue.
So I mean, they're going to be set at pass rusher.
You got me going last time we talked the Joey Porter Jr. things. That's a lot.
Oh,
write that in stone, right? The family thing that they love so much. That's a lot.
Maybe it turns out he falls to the top of the second round. That'd be great.
No, that's going to be round 1. Pick
too high.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that game? I mean, it was frustrating. There wasn't much to really.
I think it was a really good result for the Steelers. If you're a fan like you and I who are very frustrated about how this offense goes, I think this was a great game for us because I think it shined a light for Tomlin, right? We talked about this before, results oriented. Tomlin wins this game. We've seen Tomlin win this particular game, right? It almost felt like a rerun at some point. Where I'm like, oh, I've seen this one already. We're going to have the ball last. We're going to score a touchdown late. We're going to get away with a game we had no business winning.
And how close did they come to doing that?
I know. I mean, it was exactly.
So close.
I think the fact that they lost this game again, I think Tomlin's got to start. Look, while he's saying outwardly, we got to get those interceptions and whatnot. I think he understands. Look, this is a big problem offensively.
He has to. The man's not dumb. He has to.
Right. And the way that you really shine a light on that with Tomlin is by result. And the result of this game was a loss. If it was a win, you can, he can talk about throw style points out the window.
Yeah.
When you lose, okay, then the light goes, okay, what happened here offensively? How come we can't get to 20 without the defense getting us 3 turnovers?
Yeah, I agree 100%. The thing that worries me is that when TJ comes back in the second half of the season, that light's not going to be as bright because they're going to steal a couple games. I was talking about this. They're going to end up like 7 and
10.
7 and 10. Yeah. You're like, oh, the dam's just about to burst. That's what Tomlin's mantra is going to be for the next, and he brings the whole gang back and we go through this another season. Tony, I don't think I can live through another season like this.
Canada's not coming back. Canada, you don't have to worry about that. I think Canada is fired. It's just a matter of time now.
Agreed. I hope.
Yeah.
I hope. So, yeah, we hope. There's this little thing in the back of my head that says,
well, okay, here's your worry.
Invested.
Okay, Canada's fired, but is Mike Sullivan the new OC, right? You and I want outside the organization, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a chance that Tomlin goes, okay, this offense wasn't good enough, but we're on the right track. So Canada, you're out. Sullivan, you're in.
And then even if they bring someone from the outside and how much, influence does Tomlin have over it that he ruins a good thing basically
Yeah, that'll be the real disappointment is if they bring someone in from the outside and it's the same kind of conservative style of offense, then
What do you do? Because no one's saying anything to Tomlin. He's not
You
going
got to
anywhere.
find a new hobby.
Find a new podcast subject. We won't live through another year of this. We were talking about the other day. When was the last time we saw a good Steelers offense? Tony, when was the last time?
2000 and depends on how you feel about the 2018 team. I didn't like the 2018 team. So it had to been.
Was that AB's last year when he kind of left the team?
That was AB's last year. They turned the ball over like a billion
I'd say
times that
17.
year. Yeah.
I'd say 17.
17, I think, is the last time.
Yeah.
That was the last year of the Killer Bees.
Yep.
Yeah.
We haven't had fun watching offensive football in it's going on 5 years now.
It's the thing I brought up on my podcast, and we did this exercise. When is the last time the Steelers really and truly blew someone out from the word go? Right? Like really had the game in hand from the word go, and it was never a doubt that they were going to win the game. When was the last time that happened?
The Carolina game?
The Carolina game. That's what everybody came back to. It was 2018. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Carolina.
Yeah. That's the last one I can remember that was because they jumped to leads after that in a couple games, but they give it right back and
right.
They never.
Yeah, you remember those games last year against like Chicago and Seattle, where like they had in Denver, they had those games in hand, and then all of a sudden at the end, it's like,
yep.
What's happening?
It was week after week after week.
Yeah.
Any early thoughts on the Eagles next week? This seems like a.
I mean, this is the third week in a row the Steelers are going to be favored by or underdogs by more than a touchdown.
Yes. Have you seen an early spread? It's going to be double digits.
11 and a half, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say it had to be at least 10. This is embarrassing.
Oh, it's down to 11. Oh, money on the Steelers. All right. Like I said, I just have this weird feeling they're going to get this win. I don't know how. I don't know how they're going to do it. I mean, it will be a very Steeler way of doing it, right? Which is you force Hurts is a guy who has not turned the ball over like at all this year. And so flip the script, he throws some turnovers and the Steelers get some short fields, build a lead, and then hold on to it late defensively. Or they just get blown out.
Yeah, Josh Allen and running and passing and throwing and speedy wide receivers and a mobile quarterback and
yeah,
it could be bad.
Yeah, it could be another one of those games.
Yeah, I don't want to see another Buffalo game, but I think they're past that though, in a sense that, like I said, I think they figured something out. And they're going to lose. Don't get me wrong, but I think the defense, I don't think will get beat like that again this season. Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean that was a perfect storm.
Yes.
That was a perfect storm type of game where you had so many injuries on the defense, and you're facing a quarterback who you literally have to defend every inch of the field against that guy because he can hit. He can make any throw. You can drop. He can make it. So, I'm with you. It was a perfect storm game.
Okay, when I originally pitched the idea for this podcast with you, I have to admit I got ahead of myself a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I said, let's do a trade deadline podcast. I thought the Steelers would win against Miami. They'd be, what would it be, 3-4, and they'd be buyers going into this. Even if they lost to the Eagles, they'd still be buyers. Now, hard to see them being buyers, right? At this point.
I mean, I think they still could be, but I don't think they will be. I would say that they're closer to being buyers than sellers, but they should be selling. They should be selling one player in particular, to a team in such dire need that they would probably pay anything you want. But they won't.
Did you give any credence to that report that the Steelers are asking for a similar package that Christian McCaffrey for Claypool?
They're gonna. Yeah, I think that's right. I think they've told teams if you want Claypool, you got to massively overpay because we have no intention of trading him whatsoever.
Who pays that? Because
Green Bay Packers.
Green Bay's got options though. There's a lot of receivers that are available. Cook from Houston. I've heard his name thrown around. People say Moore is not available. The Jets are saying he's not available, but if you gave them that same package, they might budge.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
DJ Moore is the best player, the best one that they could trade for. So if they could get DJ Moore, then okay, that Claypool is out of. But I think Claypool is a better option than Brandon Cooks.
He is definitely. Well, is he for one season for a playoff run?
Is he? Claypool's in his contract here? No, he's got one more year after that.
No, his contract's definitely better. There's no question about that. It's do you want a veteran guy that can actually give you a deep threat, a proven deep threat, or a potential deep threat?
Yeah. Okay, I get your point. Yeah, because it's like they're going to add another young receiver to a young receiving core in Green Bay who Rodgers can't get along with.
Well, there's smoke is fire. There's been a lot of reports that they're interested in Claypool. They've been since
they've been since camp. Yeah.
Yes. So there's not a more desperate team, maybe other than Tampa, but for a receiver, there's not a more desperate team for a receiver. Anything could happen. I mean, here's the other question:
I would love it.
Will the Steelers admit defeat, raise the white flag, and start trading pieces off? They've never done it,
and I don't think
it's in Tomlin's DNA.
Nope.
I don't.
No, because I mean things would have to get really, really bad for them. And they were just, you know what the problem is? If the Bengals had started the year like 6-1 and the division looked like it was out of hand, like it was over, okay, then maybe they start selling pieces. But right now, you could still talk yourself into they already beat the Bengals. So they have the tiebreaker right now over Cincinnati. And they still play Baltimore twice. So they're 2 games behind Baltimore, but they play Baltimore twice. Yeah, so they still could win the division. I mean, you could still talk yourself into that.
Yeah. After a couple drinks, maybe, because it's not happening, brother. I mean, but no, I believe Tomlin believes that he's just that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can get this. I can turn this around. It would be nice. Well, nice. Is that the right term? It would be the smart thing to do to be sellers. They got a couple pieces they could probably move and get something. I mean, Claypool will bring you something. I don't know. Do you cut bait with Ogunjobi? He's not coming back. Do you try to get
you're not going to get much back for Ogunjobi, though. I don't think you're going to get enough back for Ogunjobi. But wouldn't they get a third? Well, they could potentially get a compensatory pick next year for whoever he signs with.
Yes, that's true too. Yeah. Yeah. And you just ride it out with him. Yeah.
You just ride it out. And then, cause he's probably going to get a big deal. I mean, he's still good.
He's good.
He signed a big deal with Chicago in the offseason. Oh,
somebody's got to explain that to me. He failed the physical
Yeah. Because he was still hurt. Remember, he didn't even play training camp.
Yeah, but didn't they know that when they signed him? And didn't they assume that was because clearly he's healthy. He wasn't like season ended hurt. He's playing for the Steelers now. He's playing great football. Yeah. That was a whole bizarre.
Yeah, no, my guess would have been that his surgery didn't go well or something happened with the surgery that Chicago didn't like. And that's why failed physical. Okay, we're not signing you to this contract. Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll deal Mitchell Mason before the trade deadline?
I mean, Mason should. Do you feel bad for Mason?
I absolutely do. Even though I am not a fan of Mason Rudolph whatsoever.
Same.
I do not like him. But at this point, you have to feel bad for him.
You have to, right?
This is a veteran quarterback who can't even get a hat.
He's
on Sundays.
Buried on this depth chart.
He went from the backup last year to a potential starter to an afterthought.
And you know what I feel bad about it, because he had this thing all off season where he kept saying, every interview he gives, like, yeah, I've been told I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna be in there with the other two for a starting. I have a chance to be the starter this year. I've been given an opportunity to compete. It's like, okay, no, you weren't. And welcome to the inactive list, Mitch or Mason.
Oh my God. Honestly, we argued that he wouldn't stand for that. Like, he demanded to be released, and apparently he hasn't, because if he had, and maybe that's not in his personality, but you're a veteran quarterback with starts. You don't want to be behind a rookie with holding the clip, not even dressing for games.
He did request a trade, though. I'm pretty sure. I mean, we just haven't heard about it yet. He had that interview. Do you remember the interview he gave when he said, when they asked him, are you happy to be here? And he said, I'll let my agent decide that or something. I was like, that wasn't the question.
But that's when you stop being a disruption, right? You just said, I'm not showing up. Release me, get me out of here.
Yeah, you go the James Harrison route. Sleep through meetings and stuff. Yeah.
Maybe that says something about his character, and that's why he's not successful, is because he's not assertive enough and not. I don't know. Yeah,
well, there's two sides to that, right? Because I would have said, it's part of his character. Like, he's not going to do that, right? Like, you want that out of your quarterback of like, hey, I'm just getting a team player, right? We're going to But I can see your part of it too, of like, at some point you just got to say, hey, like. Yeah,
I mean, there's been no one that's been treated more unfairly than him over the last 6 months. I mean, it's just promises made, or maybe, or
he got like one day of camp where he split first team reps, and then he never got another first team rep. And he wasn't bad. I mean, he was the talk. Remember, he was the talk of camp for the first week.
Yeah,
No one could
was-
believe it.
yeah.
I mean, Twitter was going nuts when everybody kept
Yeah.
saying like, Mason looks like the best quarterback at camp right now. And everyone's like, no way, you're idiots.
Yeah, maybe I get that they were, worried about injury. It bit them in the ass when Roethlisberger got hurt a couple of years ago and they had traded. But at this point now, you don't need the guy.
No,
Spin
and
him
that's
off
and this
for
is again,
I'm pick or something.
I'm a broken record on this, but like that is such a results oriented way of looking at roster building, which is like, remember that one time where that really weird thing happened to us? Well, I can't let that happen. It's like, no, hold on. That was a really weird thing that happened to you. You don't need to live in your fears, Tomlin. Like, yeah, that one really weird thing happened where you had like all these injuries and you happen to trade away some other guy and like you got left with Duck. Well, come on. That never happened. So like you had it happen to you once. Don't worry about it. It probably won't happen again. Certainly don't build your roster around the idea that what if we had to go down to our third string guy, but that's,
It's crazy.
that's how it is.
If they're buyers, which they could be,
Mhm.
let me throw a couple names at you. We've all heard the William Jackson rumors. How do you feel about that? I even saw one that said Mason Rudolph or William Jackson III.
Yeah, straight up.
We do that in a heartbeat, right? I know his contract kind of.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
shitty.
Definitely do that in a heartbeat. I just don't know. Well, okay. Here's the problem for Mason. You're not going to play because it's too late now.
Yeah.
Wherever he goes, like it's too difficult. Like Jimmy G got traded late in the year and he ended up playing, but that was a unique situation. Like Mason's not really going to go anywhere and actually have a chance. And then he's going to be a free agent again. So, from the Steelers perspective, it's once again a compensatory thing of like, we're just going to hang on to you because if you sign any kind of contract next year, maybe we get like a 7th round pick for you, which is cool. And then as far as William Jackson and bringing in another corner, remember, I'm all in on James Pierre again. Like this James Pierre thing for the last 2 weeks has been very exciting. So, and William Jackson is just a guy at this point. I mean, he's not anything special.
You don't think he's CB1 as soon as he walks in the door?
No. He's like CB4. I don't even know that I'd play him above Levi Wallace.
Oh, come on.
I know.
I think I've seen all I need to see of him 15 yards behind the receiver, hopelessly trying to catch up.
Like I said, it's a very specific situation that you got to put Levi in.
Yes.
And then but when you do, I like him a lot.
I mean, Roquan Smith gets brought up with the Steelers constantly. I don't know if we have the need at linebacker. I don't know if we need to invest in that position the way we have over the years.
Yeah. You can't trade that. You can't trade for an asset like that right now because this is not a Minka thing anymore where you can trade away your first round pick and then hopefully we're too late now. This team already has 5 losses and they're staring down 6 against Philly. So you trade away, even let's say they could get Roquan for a 2nd round pick. You may have just traded away the first pick in the 2nd round for Roquan.
Yes.
That's still
Top
too
5
much. Yeah. That's still too much.
Yeah. I did a post on this couple, and what do you think about Steven Nelson coming back? He plays for the Texans right now.
Does he want to come back though?
That's an excellent question. They didn't part ways. Friends at that point. That's
what Mason should have done. Mason needs to tweet out, just release me already. What was the tweet he said? Like, just let me go, or I don't want to be a hostage. I think he might have used the hostage line.
He might have. You're right.
Yeah, didn't he say something about that? Something about being a hostage or something? Yeah, that's what Mason should have done.
Steven Nelson's interesting. I don't think it costs you much. They need depth at that position. We don't even know what's going on with the Caleb Witherspoon. This is like what, 4
bad hammy injury, I guess. Or they're just hiding him. They're like, hey, kill him. After what happened against Amari Cooper, you can let this hammy rest for a while.
Oh man.
What other position? I mean, what other position would you trade for? So corner, I get the corner need.
Corner was a need.
But like edge, you could have made the argument for edge like 3 weeks ago, but now TJ's coming back.
They still need depth though. Would you take a flyer on like Cleveland Farrell? I heard he brought up. I know he's been very disappointing, but as a 3rd, 4th edge rusher, you could probably have him for a song right now. He's been.
Yeah.
I bet
Although
McDaniels
I don't know if
wants
Cleveland
no part of
Farrell you have to play stand-up linebacker in Pittsburgh. I don't know if he would.
Yeah.
He might be more of a down lineman type.
Yeah.
But you can always use those guys. See, I've always thought the Steelers should bring in a guy. You think about your third edge rusher. Stop worrying about, can I drop you back in cover? Just get a guy who's, just do one thing. See ball, get ball, go. That's it.
That old Cowher thing with
exactly.
Just rush the quarterback.
Rush the quarterback.
I mean, yeah, the position things, it's kind of limited. Would you try to bring in an offensive lineman? Isaiah Wins in the trading block, improve the guard spot. Go a little YOLO and go for Laramie Tunsil and try to get a tackle, a left tackle. He's only making $18 million for a left tackle. That's pretty decent money.
It is, but
is it a huge upgrade?
I'd like to figure out. I'd like to try and get a cheaper tackle early, right? Like if this team can, let's say they don't upgrade. There's a chance that they could just get like the left tackle of the future in next year's draft, right? I mean, they could just go out there and get, whether it's the Ohio State kid or the Northwestern kid. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I want to go out there and pay for a guy at tackle right now, all huge money. Even if it is only 18 million is still a good deal for a tackle, but I don't know if I want to pay huge money when potentially you could get that guy in the first round and have him locked up for 4 or 5 years, right? So you're not paying for a tackle, or you're not paying for a star left tackle or your quarterback for 4 years. It's a pretty good spot to be in from a salary cap perspective.
That definitely makes all the sense in the world. That's where I would go. If they end up with a top 10, 12 pick, I'd try to get a left tackle.
Yeah. And
stop building that way.
Exactly.
That you check off another, big need and go from there. And like you said, have financial control for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Interior, Mason Cole hasn't been great the last couple weeks, and I don't want to be like really, reactionary of like Mason Cole hasn't been good in 2 weeks, so we need to trade for a center, but
you can't draft, they need 3 positions next year on the offensive line. I really think you got to replace Dotson. I mean, Mason Cole's okay, but you're going to need a full-time center. And then one of these
tackles. Dotson's in a contract here, isn't he? Is Dotson in a contract?
I think he is. I believe he is. Yeah, you don't pay.
It's either one more year or that's it. But I'm with you.
I don't know. I'm kind of out on Dan Moore. So you need, or Chooks.
No, Chooks is here to stay. Chooks has been so good that he's just got to stay now. Like he's the best of the 5.
Yeah.
Well,
Daniel's
been pretty good.
That side's been good.
Yeah.
So that's something at least to build around. But that from center out the other way, they need help. So you'd have to. Yeah, I don't know if there's any centers available. I haven't seen any centers available.
Yeah.
Trent Brown.
That's another one where maybe, third round next year, you take another shot at center.
This team has no history of drafting offensive linemen late that ever works out. It's just bad after bad after bad. Kendrick Green, anyone?
Kendrick Green thing is that's a yikes pick. That whole draft class, really.
Yeah, it's getting that way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the biggest Colbert's. I was the biggest Colbert fan in the world, but his last couple of drafts were a little.
The 2021 draft of Najee, Freiermuth, Kendrick Green, Dan Moore is like, Freiermuth's good, but those other 3,
they got a tight end out of it, and that's
it. There was a second 4th round pick that I'm forgetting though. Didn't they pick another player in the 4th round?
Wasn't it the linebacker that's not?
Buddy Johnson. So
yeah, it doesn't get any better deeper.
Yeah. Usually I go down the line. It's only getting worse from this point. This year's class could end up. I mean, this year's class could actually end up being really good if Kenny works out, because I think we all know Pickens is star.
Pickens is a home run. It seems like.
And Leal, I mean, what a tragedy that was. That here's one guy who it didn't matter what writer or podcaster you listen to. Everyone said the same thing all week. Leal's got to play more. Leal's got to play more. Leal's got to play more. And then Friday of that very week, oh, by the way, Leal's out for the year. So
out of the blue, right? It was just like, here's he's out. That's too bad. But he could end up being very good too. Yeah, but it's all about Kenny, right? If Kenny doesn't work out, then
it's
your franchise back years.
but I think we talked about this a little bit last week, but the Steelers could also be in a situation, they could be in a Josh Rosen, Kyler Murray situation too, right? Where it's, you can do the whole upgrade thing if you need to.
Yeah, I think you and I are the same mind. We'd do it. I don't think Tomlin would do it.
I don't think so either. But Omar Khan, totally new GM. Who knows what he would do?
All right, last one, free agent. Would you try to get some kind of funky weapon like an Antonio Gibson type? Or even I know Cordero Patterson's hurt right now, but he's supposed to be back after their bye. Some running back / wide receiver / spark this offense.
I mean, you don't need to trade for that guy because you can activate Calvin Austin and try it out. And the other problem I have with that is I would like to just see them give Jaylen Warren the ball more. It seems like since Najee Harris is healthy and he's had this plate removed that he's been getting. It used to be like it was there in the middle of the year that like Warren and Najee, it wasn't necessarily a 50-50 situation, but it was like 60-40, 75-25. Now it's like Najee gets every carry and Jaylen Warren gets the scraps. I think Jaylen Warren had like 2 or 3 catches this week, touches this week. I think he had 2 or 3 against Tampa, if I'm remembering right.
He gets the third down pass blocking duties.
He's actually very good at it too.
Yeah, he's excellent at it.
And he gets a third down. No, he doesn't even get third down because there was a third one that Najee didn't get that I was positive Jaylen Warren would have got. So I can't even say that. He's not even a short yardage guy.
Has it become almost like that flashing light? If Warren's in, it's a pass play.
Yeah, right.
Not going to hand the ball in. He's just there to pass protect.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I would just love to see them give Warren the ball more at running back, right? I mean, like, this whole Najee thing, it's a problem, but I don't want to give up on Najee sorely, but like, let's be honest, the answer may be on the roster, right? And this may not be a disaster because like, if you miss on your first round guy, that's okay. If you just happen to hit on an undrafted guy, right? We'll just act like Jaylen Warren was a first round pick and then all is right in the world, like,
they could, that's how you make up for the sin of drafting a running back in the first round and missing is you take one in the, an undrafted one and make them work. Wash. Okay.
Right. Exactly. If you're going to be bad at drafting early, you better be good at drafting late.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know the Steelers will never do this.
Okay.
So now that we're on the topic of Najee, if someone offered you a second, third, fourth, and a fifth of next year, I'm driving to the airport.
Would I trade Najee right now for the McCaffrey deal?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. And I don't want to give up on him early, but like that's just like I thought the Niners overpaid for Christian McCaffrey. So if you're telling me I can get anywhere close to that for Najee, who hasn't really proven anything yet, like I like the kid and I hope he's good. But at the end of the day, if you're going to overpay for Najee, I'll take it.
I honestly think if the Steelers shopped him, they could get something like that. I don't think the rest of the league realizes how bad he's played yet. I think there's some people that still think, oh, that's a first round pick. That's that Alabama kid that really,
right.
Let's do it. There's a couple teams that could use a running back at this point, but it's fun to talk about. But if you've ever heard Mike Tomlin talk about Najee Harris, that guy's not going anywhere.
No, he's a leader in the locker room and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And this, I heard him the other day talking about, he's the last one out of the locker room every day. He's a football player, this and that. He loves Najee Harris.
Yeah.
He loves him. So he's going to grind him until he can't, until it's just too obvious that he's not the guy, which might be by the end of the season if this continues.
Well, I mean, at least it could at least be a lesser role next year.
Yeah.
Potentially like a split carry situation with Warren next year.
I'd love to see somebody with speed at the running back position, just a little bit of speed. I mean, they don't value speed at the running back at all. I mean, it's James Conner, it's Le'Veon Bell, it's Najee Harris. Speed does not enter their thought process at all at running back. It's
and the raw speed doesn't necessarily bother me as much as it does the burst of Najee, right? I mean, it's just it's the it's the fact that it just never looks like he's ever going to be dangerous enough to pop off anything longer than 20 because the initial kind of burst is just not there.
Agreed. So we're kind of the same mind. if anything, they're buyers, but even that's probably going to be another Steelers trade deadline where nothing really happens and status quo. I mean, they're going to be, for all intents and purposes, they're going to be what, 2-6 going into the bye. It's pretty obvious where this team's headed.
But but where this team is headed is why they won't buy, right? Because you're going to trade away draft picks, and you can't at this point. You can't trade away a draft pick. But then at the end of the day, like, you also can't trade away players because, hey, this division is not very good, and you already have a division win, especially over one of the teams that are leading the division right now. So, I mean, I think, okay. I think the most likely thing to happen on trade deadline day, though, is that they end up trading Claypool. They get an offer. They just go, look, we cannot turn this down. As much as we don't want to trade him, like, they ended up, the Packers end up upping their offer to like 2 seconds or something like that. And you just got to say, okay, listen, I mean, we got to take that. So I think that's more likely. Yeah.
Me and my podcast partner, we have this running joke. If they ever got to 3-5 at the bye, that would be enough for Tomlin to stop buying. Because that would trigger in his mind, we're going places, we're in close, I'm going to get somebody that I need. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen with the Eagles.
No.
Week. If he beats the Eagles,
I don't know that there's any. I think he could look at this team if they get to 3-5, and he's got TJ coming back, right? It's almost like TJ is your trade deadline acquisition. Well, you don't need to go back out there and get. I don't know if Tomlin will convince himself like I'm one guy away now. It's like, no, I just need it. We just, it's the whole like you just got to. What did Tomlin say? Like we just got to incrementally get better or whatever the phrase he used. They got to incrementally get better, plus get TJ back, and they'll be fine.
If there was a premier corner out there that was on the trading block and they were 3-5, I believe he'd give up his first round pick and go YOLO and say, I can make the playoffs with this team. Let's go. Yeah. I'm doing it. I mean, Tony, they did it with Minkah Fitzpatrick. They were 0-2 and just straight garbage. That team was headed for a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
And they said, no, we don't care. We're going to fix the defense. We're going to get Minkah Fitzpatrick in it. I mean, obviously they weren't 2-5, but I mean, you look back to that year, the Patriots game, they got smoked.
Yeah.
Opening the game. And then they got beat pretty good by Seattle. And then Minkah came and turned the whole thing around. But so this is not out of character.
It wouldn't be totally, but that was a unique situation in which like Minkah like openly wanted out. It was a player that a position, it was a complete position of need. And I understand corner is still that way. Although I wouldn't say corner is as big a need now as safety was back then. Because who were they starting at safety back then? It was Terrell Edmonds and
was it Sean?
It was Sean Davis and then the kid from Davis? It was Sean Davis and then the kid from the AAF, who I can never remember his name. He's like
I'm drawing a complete blank. That's how bad it
Laurel
was.
Or something like that. But anyway, they were like destitute at safety. I don't know that this team is necessarily destitute at corner. It's just they don't have, like you said, they don't have a premier guy. Yeah. But I don't know that this, like, it would have to be JC Horn. And I don't know. It would have to be JC Horn.
Rumors he was available, but then they've said now, no, him and Brian Burns are not untouchable.
Right.
I guess it's the same thing. If you blew them away, like us for Claypool, they maybe budge, but
I've never been believers in the whole, like, Carolina is going to sell off everything. I just, it was, look, they had to get rid of Robbie Anderson because Robbie Anderson quit on the team essentially. And then they got an overpay for a running back. So that was just an obvious trade on their part. It's like, oh, you would like to overpay for Christian McCaffrey? Yes, we will take that.
That was a no-brainer, right?
Their core pieces defensively, they're right to think those guys, that's the building blocks of whatever the next version of this team is going to be. There's no reason to trade those guys.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to be top 3, right? And they're gonna get Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, and they'll be off to the races after that. They don't have to.
Or Will Levis. Don't forget about Will Levis.
Are you coming around on Will Levis? Is that what you're telling me?
Hell no.
Is there another quarterback in this draft besides Levis? A 4th guy, you think?
Hendon Hooker, the kid from Tennessee.
Oh, yes.
Is going to probably make himself some money. I don't know if he'll actually end up in the first round. Although you know how it goes. The teams just talk themselves into everyone who's. Any quarterback with a pulse basically is like, you could be a first round pick. So I think he'll end up there. I think the kid wasn't there some typo on the kid from Stanford? I'm blanking on his name now. Tanner? No, not Tanner.
No, I'm not familiar with him. I'm not sure.
But then there was also like Anthony Richardson from Florida was.
I was going to say the Florida kid. Yeah.
Florida kid, week 1, it was like, oh my goodness, this guy's the next Cam Newton. That lasted exactly 1 week.
Wasn't the Miami quarterback supposed to be something too? And they've completely fallen off the.
Well, not just them. He got benched. So he's definitely not a first round pick. He's not even the quarterback of Miami anymore. So yeah, this was supposed to be a really, really deep class. And I don't think it's going to end up being 3 deep, I think. And maybe Hendon Hooker gets in there and makes it 4.
He made some throws against Alabama. Holy crap. And made some plays with his feet too. He's good. He had an impressive game. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know about him, but yeah. Stroud and Bryce Young.
I like Bryce Young a lot. He's just small, and that's going to be a knock on him the entire time because you're going to look at him and go, boy, this kid, once he takes one shot in the NFL, he may just,
he took a shot in that Tennessee game and he bounced up like nothing happened.
Exactly.
He's dead. He's not coming. He's not getting back up. But he bounced up like, I'm like, oh,
yeah, exactly.
Man. He's a tough kid.
He's so tough. He's just so field aware. He's a natural playmaker out there. He's wow play after wow play.
Mm-hmm.
The play of the season for me with him was in that game against Texas, which they were going to lose that game. Corner blitz off the edge, guy coming free, and he just so easily ducks underneath it. The corner goes flying over him. He rolls to the right, gets a first down, keeps that drive alive, and ends up throwing the game winner. It's just those plays are regular for him. And I think he's going to be special if the fact that he's so small doesn't come back. But like you said, we've seen him take shot after shot in college and he bounces right back up. So
I don't think you have to worry about him so much. I mean, the height thing might hurt him a little bit. What is he?
Yeah. 6'1",
6'1". Yeah. That's not too bad, but
no,
it's not Baker Mayfield, barely 6 feet on a phone book type,
right.
Well,
no, actually, he's listed at 6'1", right? It's always one of those things where it's college listed. So let's see what happens when you get to the combine.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's
and CJ Stroud, solid dude too. He's going to be good.
Yeah, Stroud's going to have the problem of scouting the helmet, which is
because of the kid in Chicago. Fields. How much do you blame the Bears? Just dumpster fire situation on him. He made some throws last night too. Against the Patriots, he looked decent. He
wasn't bad. He wasn't bad. Although Bailey Zappi made a couple throws at the beginning of that game that made everyone go, "Wait, hold on, is this Zappi kid actually good?" And then he came back down.
Yeah, then he threw a couple interceptions in the second half. There's always that. We talked about it last time in the back of your head. Please don't let New England have the best quarterback in this draft.
I know. I know.
Nightmare scenario. All right, I think that's pretty much wraps it up. Tony, thanks again for coming on. Catch Tony on his YouTube channel. It's great. You got a video coming out tomorrow?
One will be out tomorrow. Yeah. So look for that. Yeah, like you said, on my channel, Steeler Country with Tony Serino, and then also we have AFC North Talk tomorrow. That's the roundtable show I do all about the AFC North. So check that out as well.
Yeah, you guys are good on that. That's fun. That's a fun watch for sure.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Not fun right now while the Bengals are winning and the Steelers are losing. Not fun.
The AFC North's a toss up, man. And no one, the Bengals did look good this week, though. That you have to give them.
They looked.
Joe Burrow looks like he's
real good.
Yeah. He's catching his stride now. They might run away from this division.
I know, and that defense is good too, man. It's
defense is real good. They got to figure out that line, give them some time to throw, and it's lights out. I think the Bengals could be. Everyone's assuming Bills Chiefs. I wouldn't count out the Bengals just yet.
The problem for the Bengals is they are likely going to at best finish third, and so they're going to have to go through both.
A road game. Yeah. Oh yeah, I go through both. Yeah, good point. And both on the road.
Both on the road. Like they may upset one, but the idea that you're going to go at Kansas City, at Buffalo.
Yeah, I forget.
Yeah, that's happening.
I take it back.
Yeah.
they might give one of them a problem, but yeah, you're right.
Right.
2 in a row. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Tony, for helping us out. Yeah, you can follow me at SteelerSank16 on Twitter and follow our YouTube channel also at Steeler Sanctuary. Thanks a lot, Tony. I appreciate it.
Thank you.